All right, we have some massive news to break down. So we are getting closer and closer to the day that Matt Gaetz either makes a vertical leap up into the position of the Attorney General of the United States, or what seems more likely is that he gets locked out of his House seat forever because he resigned roughly a week ago after Donald Trump promised him the AG position. But that promise seems like it's going to ring hollow because today we learned that the House Ethics Committee made its report on Matt Gaetz' alleged misconduct available to all 10 members. This article reads, "Report into Gaetz, alleged sexual misconduct released to entire ethics committee." And I want to break down the implications of this beyond just the increased chance of a leak, because now that all 10 members have it, there is a higher chance of a leak, which will lead to public outcry, which will lessen the chance that Matt Gaetz gets confirmed. But there are bigger implications that I do want to break down throughout this video. First, make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe. I want to show you this clip of Professor Jeff Jarvis on CNN last night saying that it's journalists' job to cover this administration responsibly, and I promise to do that to you guys. Let me play this clip.
I just reread Hannah Arendt's The Origins of Totalitarianism, and I cannot tell you how relevant it is to today. What has gone on in totalitarian regimes before is what is happening in this country right now. It is fascism. His generals called him fascist. Joe Scarborough called him fascist. And now the fascist is in charge. And it is journalism's job to cover it that way, not to back off and say, okay, well, that's it, we lost. Let the fascism happen. No.
Yeah, now is not the time to back off at all. There's the quote, "Do not obey in advance." Obeying in advance means you're ceding ground to the authoritarians before they even get the chance to take power. They haven't even taken power, and I already see people in the comments saying, "Adam, everything's gone. Democracy has already been crushed to dust." No, it hasn't. Democracy is still here. We just had an election literally 2 weeks ago. So we just have to hold the line and do not obey in advance. Now, before I break down the implications of this report into Matt Gaetz' alleged sexual misconduct, I do want to tell you guys about the larger context of this political game going on right now. Now, Professor Joyce Vance released this fascinating article overnight titled "What Letting Trump Use Recess Appointments Could Mean." And of course, Professor Vance was one of the first 5 U.S. attorneys nominated by President Barack Obama and the first female U.S. attorney nominated by Obama. So, very accomplished, and I want to read this because it lays the groundwork. Donald Trump's stated desire to use recess appointments is about more than putting his cabinet secretaries and other appointees in place without a fight. She's talking about people like Tulsi Gabbard for the DNI position, people like Matt Gaetz, people like RFK Jr. You know, RFK Jr. might make it through normally. Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard would not. With a 54-seat majority in the Senate, Donald Trump has the ability to get anyone who isn't truly beyond the pale confirmed. And there's not much that's beyond the pale for MAGA. After all, in his first term, Trump stuck with a Supreme Court nominee despite allegations of sexual assault that remained uninvestigated. And at least 3 of his cabinet secretaries left under the cloud of corruption investigations. Also, like half of his cabinet was investigated or arrested, from Roger Stone to Steve Bannon. As we discussed last week, Trump's demand for recess appointments is a way of breaking the Senate early on. Once they've bypassed the constitutional dictate that they confirm the president's appointees, there's no standing on principle to insist on strict adherence to the Constitution there on out. It's all a negotiation with the rule of law up for grabs. And just so you guys know, the Senate usually has to investigate and interrogate and then confirm any cabinet appointments usually made. When I say interrogate, they just ask a bunch of questions and they probe them. Now, the Senate can't violate the advice and consent requirements of Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, and still believe the decline just stops there. You can't just violate this on day 1 and believe the decline ends there. It's over. Trump's not going to ask any more of us. Once they start down that unprincipled path, anything and everything can be there for the taking. That's why the Republican senators have to refuse to follow Trump's order on day 1, and we're going to see over the next 30 to 60 days, 90 days, are the Republican senators going to bend the knee? And I think many of our instincts are telling us, yes, the Republican senators will bend the knee, but we'll see what happens. Donald Trump tweeted out roughly a week ago, "Any Republican senator seeking the coveted leadership position in the United States Senate must agree to recess appointments, without which we will not be able to get people confirmed in a timely manner." And remember, that is largely just a cover. It's not just about ramming Matt Gaetz through in a timely manner so he can launch out of a cannon on day 1 and prosecute all of Trump's political enemies. It's about making the Senate bend the knee. And the thing is, It seems like they've kind of refused to so far. I mean, the new Senate Majority Leader, Thune, was very, very against recess appointments. So the question from here on out is Thune going to bend the knee? Are the rest of the Republican senators going to bend the knee? A lot of them seem to want to see the report. Even a lot of people in the House seem to want to see the report. Look at Republican Don Bacon, who became the first House Republican to say that the report should be released. Then we'll break down the breaking news.
The House Ethics Committee is going to meet in a couple days to determine what to do with their investigation into your former colleague, former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who's now Trump's pick for Attorney General. Do you think that committee should, at the very least, send their investigation to the Senate so that Senate Republicans especially, but all of the senators can see what they uncovered?
Short answer, yes. I think the Senate is entitled to see it. It would be one thing if my colleague just resigned and wasn't going to come back or try to do something in the executive branch. But the fact that he wants to be the Attorney General, I think we should have all that information out there, whether it's exonerates him or that it shows guilt. And either way, the senators deserve to know. Otherwise, you just assume the worst. And I think if he had plans to come back in the 119th Congress, that report should still be then made public.
Boom. That is a House Republican saying, yeah, make the report public. I mean, any normal American should want government transparency. And I'm going to talk about that more later, but this actually gives Democrats a really good opportunity to say, hey, we're the ones that are on the side of government transparency. Why are they hiding the report? What are they hiding in that report? And why won't they release it to the American people? It's a great opportunity. But really quickly, let me finish this article by Professor Joyce Vance. None of Trump's nominees should take office without a Senate vote. Senate Republicans may ultimately vote to confirm all of Trump's nominees. If they do, then that is a different story. That is a different conversation, but they are obligated to at least go through the advice and consent process, and their votes should all be a matter of public record. We now live in a crazy world where Republicans, the supposed strict constructionists when it comes to the Constitution, must, as crazy as it sounds, admonish the leader of their party that even presidents have to follow the Constitution. Where might we end up if they don't? At the extremes, the prospects are frightening. A piece in the New York Times this morning started like this, quote, President-elect Donald J. Trump has mused more than once that he might like to extend his next stay at the White House. But can he run for re-election again in 2028 and seek a third term? The simple answer is no. The Constitution doesn't allow it, but Joyce Vance points out, not so fast. Not so fast. Who cares if the Constitution doesn't allow it? Once the Constitution is just a bargaining chip, it's all on the table. The idea of a third term in office has been with Trump for a while, for years. Even in 2020, during a rally in Nevada, he told his followers, we're going to win 4 more years in the White House. And then after that, we'll negotiate, right? Because we're probably, based on the way we were treated, we're probably entitled to another 4 after that. The Constitution, in Trump's view, is up for negotiation. Everything in Trump's world is just a negotiation. And it's a different story when you're negotiating with people to break the tax code in New York State and you're being a scumbag doing that. But when you're doing it on a national stage and you're negotiating about the Constitution, that's your pawn. That is different. It is a different story. Post-election Trump is making it clear that he meant what he said during the campaign, whether it's mass deportations or Project 2025 or completely rolling back preparations for climate change, democracy is at stake. Instead of rolling over at Trump's first run and then permitting him to bypass a constitutional command that they confirm as appointees, Senate Republicans need to stand their ground now, or they may find in the future that they have no ground left to stand on. You guys can call your Republican senators and tell them, hey, please make sure you do not go into recess appointments. Please do not confirm these appointees. I can get that information together for you guys and start giving that to you in videos today so you guys know who to call. It'll take a little bit of time. But that brings us over to the main bulk of the video. This report negates alleged sexual misconduct being released to the entire Ethics Committee. So, as the Ethics Committee prepares to meet on Wednesday to discuss Gaetz' dossier, bipartisan calls are growing to release the findings from both sides. But Speaker of the House Mike Johnson apparently is pleading with the committee to keep the report sealed. And this all ties back to Trump's willingness to nominate individuals who bring so much baggage, people like Gaetz, people like Hegseth, people like Tulsi Gabbard. And again, it's not even about nominating, it's about installing these individuals. But let's focus on this report for a bit. This article reads, House Ethics Committee Chair Michael Guest revealed Monday that the formal report on their investigation into Matt Gaetz' alleged misconduct was made available to all 10 members of the committee. all 10 members now have it. And according to Politico, only Guest and a fellow ranking member, Representative Susan Wild, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, previously had a copy. So not only does this greatly increase the chance that there is some sort of leak, but also, due to the report being tightly controlled before with only 2 people, the Democrats can now seize this opportunity when it comes to messaging and show that we're the side who wants to have greater transparency and accountability within the government. Again, what are they hiding in this report? Why are they hiding it from us? Why is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson pleading them not to release it? What does Speaker of the House Mike Johnson have to hide? I mean, dude, if you reverse the roles and like Hakeem Jeffries was begging the committee not to release a report about a Democrat, Republicans would start to say Hakeem Jeffries is in on the whole plot, that Hakeem Jeffries was at the party too. So why don't we start saying that maybe was Mike Johnson at the party with Matt Gaetz? Maybe that's why he doesn't want it released. But in all seriousness, Guest's announcement comes amid bipartisan calls from members of the Senate Judiciary Committee to release the report's findings after Donald Trump tapped Gaetz as his nominee for the AG. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson has pleaded with the committee to keep their findings sealed. The 2-year-long ethics probe into Gaetz seemingly ended last week when the former Florida congressman resigned from the House, but only seemingly. Who knows if it'll get leaked at some point? And I don't want anyone to break the law. I don't want any aide to nuke their career, but I also think that there should be transparency and accountability, and a leak could fuel enough public outcry to underscore the stakes in the upcoming elections, or not even just elections, the appointments that the Senates have to go through. So again, just to take a step back, if the Senate decides to bypass the advice and consent requirement that has existed forever, it sets a very dangerous precedent. If they let Trump get away with this now, on day one, what's to stop future violations of the Constitution? I mean, I wish I could just, I'm going to call my senator, but I wish I could just sit down and talk to them and say, hey, you realize you exist as a check on the president. You exist to check their power. So why are you so scared to do your job? As the Constitution says, it doesn't make any sense. If you actually loved America, you would do your actual job. So if you enjoyed this video, if you appreciate what I do, drop a like, subscribe, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.